Good day everyone, I'm Hazel Antonio, your presenter for today, and the assigned topic to me is the work of Dumas, which is the Count of Monte Cristo. The Count of Monte Cristo is a novel with 117 chapters, and Miss Aligado already tackled who is Alexandre Dumas. So again, Alexandre Dumas is born on July 24, 1802 and died on December 5, 1870. So he is one of the most prolific and most popular French authors of the 19th century. For the content of my report, we have the background and the settings, character and plot, theme, and then the character analysis. Let's proceed now to the background. So, The Count of Monte Cristo is written by Alexandre Dumas, possibly collaboration with Auguste Mackay. So, Auguste Mackay, again, is a French writer. He is best known as the chief collaborator of French novelist Alexandre Dumas. Auguste Mackay became a professor at the age of 18. So, The Count of Monte Cristo is published serially in 1844 to 1846 and in book form in 1844 to 1845. So, The Count of Monte Cristo is set during the time of the Bourbon Restoration in France. So, when we say Bourbon Restoration, it happened in 1814 to 1830 in France, the period that began when Napoleon I abdicated. So, abdicated means it is all about leaving the position of being a king or queen, and the Bourbon monarchs were restored to the throne. So, settings. So, the novel takes place during the years following the fall of Napoleon's empire. So, the story begins in 1815 and ends in 1844. So, most of the action takes place in Paris. So, key scenes are also set in Marseilles, so in France, Monte Cristo in Italy, and then Greece and Constantinople. So, Constantinople is in Turkey. So, Constantinople is called now as Istanbul. Let's proceed now to the characters of the novel. So, first one, we have here Edmond Dantes. So, a young man who is wrongfully imprisoned, later known as the Count of Monte Cristo, sometimes called Abbe Busoni, Lord Wilmore, or Sinbad the Sailor. So, next one, we have Mercedes. Mercedes is the fiancée of Dantes, and she marries Fernand Mondego. Abbe Faria. He is a prisoner who becomes Dantes' friend and mentor in prison. Next one, we have Danglars. So, he is later known as Baron Danglars, is the instigator of the conspiracy to falsely accuse Dantes of treason. So, when we say treason, it means it is the crime of betraying one's country. Next one, we have Villefort. So, Monsieur Gerard de Villefort is the magistrate who orders Dantes' imprisonment knowing he is innocent. Next, we have Fernand Mondego, later known as Comte de Morcerf, is one of the conspirators against Dantes. He is a fisherman who becomes a count. So, when we say count, it is a title of nobility that varies slightly in meaning depending on which country you're in. So, when we are referring to a count, it is likely speaking about someone who falls in the middle of the social hierarchy. Not quite at the level for a king or queen, but far more impressive than the rest of us commoners. So, we have here Caderousse. So, Gaspard Caderousse is one of the conspirators against Dantes. So, he is a failed tailor who becomes an innkeeper, murderer, and a thief. So, we have Maximilien. He is the son of the ship owner, Monsieur Morel, and is in love with Valentine de Villefort. So, we have here Monsieur Morel. So, the kind ship owner who wants to make Dantes captain of the Pharaon and doggedly tries to have him released from prison after his arrest. So, Albert de Morcerf is the son of Mercedes and Fernand de Morcerf, who renounces his father's name and joins the army after learning of his father's disgrace. So next, we have here Heidi. So Monte Cristo's ward and future love interest is the beautiful daughter of Ali Pasha, who is betrayed and killed by Morcerf, and who delivers the testimony that results in Morcerf's conviction for treason. So let's proceed now in our plot. So in exposition, we have Edmond Dantes arrive home. So in 1815, Edmond Dantes was 19 years old, is a dashing young first mate when he sails the cargo ship Pharaon into the harbor of Marseille in France. So Edmond that time is doing a great job as acting captain after the unexpected death of Captain Leclerc. So that when Captain Leclerc died unexpectedly, the ship owner, which is Monsieur Morel, plans to appoint Dantes as a captain. So Dantes has 3 months ashore to spend time with his aged father and marry his fiancée Mercedes. But 3 men hated him for different reasons. So the 3 men are Danglars, Fernand Mondego, and Caderousse. So Danglars is Morel's business agent during the Pharaon's voyage. So Danglars is also envious of Dantes' youth and success. So next one, Fernand Mondego. So Fernand Mondego is a fisherman who's in love with Mercedes. And then we have Caderousse, so Dantes' neighbor, who also envies Dantes' success. So the next day, it's Dantes and Mercedes' betrothal celebration. So the marriage ceremony will take place less than 2 hours before. But as the betrothal dinner ends, Dantes is arrested and taken away to prison. Dantes is arrested because the commissioner of police received an anonymous letter accusing Dantes of being involved in a Bonapartist plot to overthrow the government. Monsieur de Villefort, the crown prosecutor's deputy that time, interrogate Dantes and believe that Dantes is innocent. But the letter possesses a problem for him because it is addressed to his own father. So Villefort's ambition that time is to rise in the government. That's why, if it is known by the others, it will affect his ambition and people will think that he has a traitor in his family. That's why Villefort decides to burn the conspiracy letter and arrange the imprisonment of Dantes in Chateau d'If. Let's proceed now to rising action. So Edmond Dantes is sent to prison. So Dantes spent 14 years in the dungeon of Chateau d'If. His father, fiancé, and even his friends had no idea where he is or what is really happened to him. So Edmond Dantes meets Abbe Faria. So Abbe Faria is a political prisoner in Chateau d'If. The prison guards think that Abbe is insane because Faria is obsessed with a treasure that he says has been left to him. So the treasure that Faria that always saying is hidden in the place that he only knows. So Faria and Dantes create a tunnel to visit each other's cells. Faria educates Dantes in all subject areas because Faria is a person who is matalino or knowledgeable. So Abbe Faria also helps Dantes figure out who was behind the anonymous letter that led to his arrest. When Dantes found that he was betrayed, he vows to seek revenge if he and Abbe succeed to escape. So Faria also that time has a stroke and he dies after telling Dantes where to find the treasure. So the treasure is totoo, hindi sabi-sabi lamang. So hindi siya parang insane or baliw na nagsasabi about sa kayamanan, but yung kayamanan is totoo. So when Faria died, Dantes think a way on how to get out of the prison. So the way that he think is Faria's body put in his own cell. Then he goes to Faria's cell and he hides in Abbe's shroud. Parang pinagpalit ni Dante, nag-swap sila ng selda para isipin ng mga gwardya doon na yung nasa selda ni Faria is si Faria, but si Dante iyon. And then the guards throw the body to the sea that they think it's Abbe Faria but not. Si Dante yung naitapon nila kasi nga pinagpalit ni Dante yung katawan nila ni Faria. So ayun yung naging way ni Dante para makatakas doon at naging successful nga yung plano or yung plano or yung paraan na paano siya makaka-escape doon sa loob ng Chateau d'If. So, Edmond Dantes escapes from Chateau d'If. So, he is rescued from the sea by Italian smugglers and works with them for a time before searching for and finding the Abbe's treasure on the island of Monte, Cristo. So, next, Edmond Dantes finds the treasure. So, when he finds the treasure, he began to plan of his vengeance. He goes in disguise to Marseille, where he learns that his father died. And then, Mercedes, after waiting a year and a half in hopes that Dantes would return, she marries Fernand Mondego because she thought that Dantes is died. So, during this time, the three men who hated Dantes, which is Villefort, Fernand, and Danglars, achieve wealth and power, and they are all living in Paris. So, Caderousse during this time is now an innkeeper on the outskirts of Marseille. So, before departing in Marseille, Dantes helped the faithful and kind Morel family who have fallen on hard times. So, Morel family is the owner of the ship who Monsieur Morel wants Dantes to be a captain before. So, the next scene is Caderousse is murdered. So, the person who killed Caderousse is Benedetto. So, because Caderousse wants more like money and jewelry, hindi niya tinanggap yung pera from Benedetto because parang hindi iyon sapat. That's why he plans na patayin si Benedetto, but he knew it, kaya naunahan ni Benedetto patayin si Caderousse. So, Edmond decides not to kill Albert. So, 10 years later, Dante emerged in Rome, having reinvented himself as the fabulously wealthy and eccentric Count of Monte Cristo. He's been traveling in Asia and developed a vast network of contacts in the world of smugglers and bandits. So, he now owns the island of Monte Cristo, where he created an exotic, hidden, underground home, and he has a staff of loyal, trusted attendants, most of whom have checkered past. So, the Count saves Albert de Morcerf, which is the son of Mercedes, and Fernand from bandits. So, nakipagkaibigan si Albert kay Monte Cristo at pinakilala to the upper crust of Parisian society. So, no one suspect that the Count is Dantes. So, he uses this hidden information to become a part of the lives of all who betrayed him. So, Fernand Mondego commits suicide. Driven by the conviction that he is acting as the agent of Providence, Monte Cristo, as he is now known, sets out to punish his enemies. So, Fernand, after rising to the rank of general in the army, has become Comte de Morcerf. So, Villefort is now a deputy minister in the government, and Danglars is now Baron Danglars, a millionaire banker. So, Morcerf has not made his fortune by noble means. He betrayed his former patron, which is Ali Pasha, a Greek vizier whose daughter Heidi. Dantes saved from slavery. So, Morcerf sold her and her mother after her father died. So, the Count, which is Edmond Dantes, extracts his revenge very slowly. So, one day, a journalist publishes a story revealing Morcerf's treachery or pagtataksil, and Heidi testifies against Morcerf to a government tribunal. So, Fernand Mondego commits suicide while Albert and Mercedes flee in shame. And then, Madame de Villefort goes insane. So, for our climax, Gerard de Villefort shows Edward's body to Edmond Dantes, which is si Monte Cristo, because he realizes that the revenge that Edmond was doing goes too far. So, for our falling action, Edmond Dantes talks with Mercedes and both moved on. So, he also visits Chateau d'If and reflects on his time there. So, when his vengeance is complete, he helps Maximilian and Valentine to start a new life, leaving them a fortune. So, for our ending resolution, Edmond Dantes sails away with Heidi. He starts a new life of his own, sailing off with Heidi. So for our team, we have betrayal and vengeance, retribution, and then power. So betrayal and vengeance, because in the novel, betrayals or acts of disloyalty happen. So there are people who betrayed Edmond Dantes. So vengeance, because it tackles about punishment inflicted on a person by one who has been harmed by that person. So Dantes feels that vengeance is his only recourse, and he justifies his actions by convincing himself he's carrying out the will of God. So next, retribution. Because again, Dantes punished those persons who betrayed him, and murder is typically the first choice of punishment. And then power, because when Abbe Faria tells to Edmond Dantes the treasure, it gives him the power to travel wherever he needs to be and meet those in power who can be useful to his plans. Because of his power, he can do everything to seek revenge. So, for our character analysis, we have here Edmond Dantes. So, Edmond Dantes, the young first mate of the cargo ship Pharaon, is imprisoned for 14 years on false charges. While in prison, he vows to seek revenge on those who betrayed him. Another prisoner, the learned Abbe Faria, helps him acquire a broad education in many subjects and tells him where a vast treasure is buried. So he escapes from prison, finds the treasure, and spends 10 years carrying out a complicated plan of vengeance. He thinks of himself as an agent of God, punishing wrongdoers. So next one, we have Abbe Faria, a political prisoner in the Chateau d'If. Is thought to be mad because he insists that he has a huge treasure and keeps trying to bribe prison officials with it. So Danglars, the supercargo or officer in charge of accounts on the Pharaon, is resentful that Dantes is to be promoted from first mate to captain. So next, Gerard de Villefort is the proud, ambitious crown prosecutor who will do just about anything to further his political career. He sends Dantes to prison to hide information that could harm Villefort's father and his own career. So next one, Fernand Mondego, Mercedes' cousin. Fernand is a fisherman who is in love with her when she's engaged to Edmond Dantes. Hoping to prevent the marriage, Fernand delivers the anonymous letter responsible for Dantes' arrest. So Caderousse, Gaspard Caderousse is a former neighbor of Dantes in Marseille. Greedy, envious, lazy, and a drunkard, he's failed at being both tailor and an innkeeper. So next one, we have Mercedes. Mercedes is a poor, beautiful Catalan engaged to Edmond Dantes and about to marry him when he's arrested and disappears. After waiting 18 months for his return and believing Dantes to be dead, she marries Fernand Mondego. Next, Maximilien. Maximilien first encounters Monte Cristo when he comes back to Marseille from the army to help prevent his father's suicide. So the Count, disguised as Lord Wilmore, saves the firm of Morel and Sons from ruin. So for my interpretation, no matter how good you are to your neighbor or friend, they can still do something wrong to you, especially when you are more successful than them. The envy will not go away, so they will do something that will bring you down, and once you are down, they will be the one who will go up. But it is not right to take revenge. Let those in powers and God punish them, karma returns. And then, relate to current situation. So if anyone of us today experiencing something like kinaiinggitan ng kung sino dahil sa success na natatanggap or natatamo natin, hayaan natin sila kung maliit na bagay lang naman, 'di ba? But kung sobra na, hindi na tama, we need an action na. Ang mga tao may sasabihin at sasabihin yan about sa atin, especially negative. But wag natin hayaan na tumimo sa puso at isip natin kung yung sinasabi nila ay hindi naman talaga totoo. That ends my report. Thank you for listening. God bless us all.